Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Indiana Hoosiers both get into the women's Sweet 16, and we'll check in on Penn State's offense and spring football. All that right here on Locked On Big Ten.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So Iowa and Indiana representing the women in the Sweet 16 for the Big Ten. And Penn State, are they improved at wide receiver? That's the part I want to dial in for spring football. Plus, we'll have our Tuesday tweets. So hang for that. We'll see if yours made the list. Win or lose, it would have been Caitlin Clark's last game of her career at Carver Hawkeye Arena on Monday night as they took on West Virginia, the 8 seed, Iowa, the 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. It was one of the toughest battles of the year for the Hawkeyes. The game was actually tied with 2 minutes to go, but the Hawkeyes won 64-54 to advance to the Sweet 16, where they will face Colorado Saturday in Albany, New York. Now, the story here, Iowa, they scored 90 points a game. They don't think about it. They just do it. And West Virginia held the Hawkeyes to just 6 points in the second quarter. 6. And they were nearly scoreless for nearly 5 minutes at the end of that second quarter going into the half. It was unreal. It was very un-Iowa-like. If you've watched them at all this season, and Caitlin Clark with her record-breaking season, she had just 11 points at the half, but she had 13 points on 4 or 5 shooting in the third quarter and finished with 32 and became the NCAA's all-time single-season scoring leader. And they did that with key free throws at the end. But it was not easy for the Hawkeyes for a couple of reasons in this basketball game. First of all, Hannah Stuelke, she was playing with a migraine headache. She actually sat out quite a few minutes in the first half. It was a sluggish first half for the Hawkeyes, but then they went on a 10-0 run in that third quarter to jump out to an 11-point lead in the game. And but it was not over by any stretch. It was back and forth, a game of runs. For example, right after that run by Iowa, West Virginia went on a 9-0 run to cut it to 3. And defensively all night took Iowa out of its rhythm offensively. Good job by West Virginia. Well-coached team. Really played hard on this game. But the Hawkeyes, they pushed back and got their lead back up to 10 points as they headed into the fourth quarter. You're thinking, okay, maybe it's Iowa time for the big run. But West Virginia went on a 10-0 run themselves in the fourth quarter to tie the game at 48 with 5:18 to go. Jayla Hemingway hit a big 3-point bomb to make that 10-0 run and to tie the game. At that point, Iowa coach Lisa Bluter had to call a timeout with 5:07 to go, and this game was very much in doubt. Iowa, this is an interesting fact, they did not score in the fourth quarter at all. I told you about how the second quarter went. The fourth quarter, they didn't even score till 4:46 to go. And that was on a couple of free throws to take a 50-48 lead. In fact, Iowa did not score a field goal in the fourth quarter till 2 minutes and 3 seconds remain in the game. Sydney Falter scored on a bucket and one. Take a 55-52 lead. Remarkable to have that kind of drought and still win this game. Along the way, Iowa finished with an 8-0 run to make it 60-52 with 34 seconds to go, and they ended up winning by 10. Caitlin Clark, 20 or more points in 45 straight games. That hasn't been done in a quarter of a century. Very remarkable, no doubt, but she's always remarkable. And now the Hawkeyes go on to take on Colorado in the Sweet 16 on Saturday. Congratulations to them. We love following them. We love talking about Caitlin Clark. There was another Big Ten team that cracked into the Sweet 16 as well. Earlier in the evening Monday night, the Indiana Hoosiers in Bloomington, they were the 4th seed. They played the 5 seed Oklahoma, and the 4th seeded Lady Hoosiers beat Oklahoma. Final score 75-68. It wasn't that much it was much closer than that. It really was. But the Hoosiers go into the Sweet 16 for the second time in 3 years. Mackenzie Holmes dominated in the paint. Great post moves all night long. She had 29 points. Sydney Parrish had 17 points along with 8 rebounds and 5 assists in the game. Game was pretty physical. A lot of banging. In fact, both of the Iowa game and the Indiana game, both very physical on Monday night. And Indiana hitting some free throws at the end when Oklahoma had to foul to make the 7-point margin. Otherwise, it was much closer than that. Interesting fact about Oklahoma. The Sooners have been to 22 NCAA tournaments since 2000, but they've only been to haven't been to the Sweet 16 since 2009. So they were very disappointed to come up short again here. Both teams asserted their defenses in this one. Oklahoma only shot 35% from the field in this game. IU only shot 38% from the field in this game. Oklahoma was just 4 of 25 from three-point land. IU was just 3 of 16 on three-pointers in this one. And the Sooners even out-rebounded the Hoosiers 48-39. But Indiana only committed 4 turnovers all night long. Oklahoma had 11, and Indiana was able to hit free throws late and end up winning the game. But great defensive job by both teams in this game. Indiana also enjoying a nice home court advantage of 12,000 fans there at Assembly Hall. And the Hoosiers now, here's the reward. They get to go play undefeated South Carolina in Albany in New York on Friday night. That's going to be a big, tough battle. But both the Hawkeyes and the Hoosiers getting into the Sweet 16 from the women's NCAA tournament. A lot of excitement there. So now we're all set. We've got in the men's, we've got Purdue and Illinois, 2 Big Ten teams in the Sweet 16, and 2 Big Ten teams from the women with Indiana and Iowa. So those are the teams we're rooting for moving forward here on this weekend. What do you think about it? Both men's and women's, particularly women's on Monday night. Caitlin Clark, just another marvelous performance, just gutting it out. It was a quiet 32, right? I mean, it's kind of shut down for a while, but then you add up her points at the end, and it was 32 points. It was quite remarkable, actually. But if you want to hit us up on the comments, we'd love to hear from you. Also, if you don't mind, if you like what you're seeing here, if you're new to us, subscribe. It's free. It's simple. You just click it on. Doesn't cost you anything. No other information. And you're part of our Big Ten club every day. You can follow Lockdown Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. All right. In addition to the ladies' hoops, let's talk a little football. Spring football is going on. Everybody's excited about it. We're going to dial in a little bit here in Happy Valley. We're going to check in on Penn State and their spring football, specifically at wide receiver. Are they getting better at that critical point? That was the one thing they really need to improve on, stretching defenses downfield. We'll check in on that next right here. Then Tuesday tweets later on. It's all right here on Locked On Big Ten. Say goodbye to the busted brackets. Most of you, men's, women's, all busted because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. It's like a fresh redo every single night. All right. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a number 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's number 1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can pick who's going to win it all. Whatever you want to do there, just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops till they cut down the nets. Got some picks for you here. Men's Sweet 16, number 3 seed Illinois taking on 2 seed Iowa State. Iowa State's actually favored in this one, 2.5 by 2.5 points. Over under at 146.5. Look, I got to take Illinois, but what I really like here is the over. Both of these teams that can score 146.5. Take the over on that one. And 5 seed Gonzaga versus 1 seed Purdue. Purdue is a 5.5 point favorite. Also, I like the over here at 154.5. Something to think about. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops till they cut down the nets. Passion, drive, and patience is what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what brings your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, just about anything you can think of. Whether you're into speed, power, style, looking good, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home the win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, if you're not an everydayer, sampling us, checking us out, or you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. Click it. It's free. It's good to go on YouTube. You can share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. As we like to say, your teams every day, because we cover them all here on Locked On Big Ten, all the Big Ten teams. And don't forget to check out our website, and you can get your favorite Big Ten merchandise, some ticket information, fanware. It's all right there. TalkBig10 10.com. Spring football is getting serious, and teams' strengths and weaknesses are being assessed, and we all get to see how the teams have come along from last year when we get to the spring game. But before that, kind of behind the scenes stuff, I always like to try and take a peek, see what's going on. So all the reaction and the overreaction starts now for the fall, spring football. We all get very excited about it. One topic we like to keep laser focused on is Penn State and their passing game. Specifically, Drew Allar's targets downfield and the emphasis on the words downfield. If you watch Penn State football, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was the most glaring weakness on an otherwise really good football team this year. They've won 10 games. Very good. So we're cautious about being overly critical, kind of fine-tuning it a little bit, right? James Franklin's got a new offensive coordinator in Andy Kotelnicki, and he likes what he sees so far out of the receiver group. In fact, he says they've heard the criticism from all of us, and they got a bit of a chip on their shoulders as they're practicing. So I like that. I'm sure they like that. But can they stretch a defense? That's the main question. James Franklin seems to agree. He says the receivers are challenging the defensive players in spring football. Both he and Kotelnicki feel that their receivers will challenge Big Ten receivers this season. Okay, why? Why do you think that? Let's review the situation. Have they really upgraded in talent at wide receiver? Julian Fleming's the first one that comes to mind from Ohio State. He's a nice ad, but is he a number one? I don't know if he is. It's hard to tell because he was the third option at Ohio State behind Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Okafor. Pretty good receivers in their own right, no doubt. So we'll see how he does, if he's going to be the number one. Again, I don't know if he's that guy or not. Haven't seen anything that would tell me he is. Another year older, we'll see. Keandre Lambert-Smith, he was asked to be Penn State's number one last year, even though he really wasn't a number one talent-wise, but he's good. At least he's experienced, and he'll be very involved in the offense this year. And then how about Harrison Wallace III? First of all, he needs to stay healthy in order to be a difference maker. I mean, his best games last year were the first game against West Virginia and the last game of the Peach Bowl, right? When he's, I think he missed 5 games last year due to injury, at least. That was throughout the year. So, and then the recruits and the young people and the portal and the developed players that have been there. Time will tell on that. Just, can somebody step up? I wouldn't hold my breath on any game changers coming out of that scenario, though. But I am excited to see one thing that will be new this season. Kotelnicki's offense, nonstop motion pre-snap. Everybody in motion, or not everybody, receivers moving here, slot positions, wing back, the whole thing. Everybody's moving a lot. And maybe that will help them read coverages better, and they can take advantage of that. Drew Allar may be able to read things better and take advantage of that. Now, one big improvement, I think, a possible improvement that will help the receiving corps may actually be Drew Allar himself at quarterback. He has tremendous arm talent, and I'll be anxious to see how he does with the new offensive coordinator because, look, it's well documented on many podcasts here from Locked On Big Ten last year as we continue to break down the Penn State offense. We are under the impression that James Franklin and maybe offensive coordinator Mike Yursich went overboard to Allar, preaching, do not, under any circumstances, turn the ball over. Do not turn it over. Do not throw interceptions. Do not make risky throws. Our defense is stellar, okay? Don't put us in a hole. Let our defense win the game for us. And I think it backfired on him, honestly, in my opinion. I'm the only one that I hear saying this, but I think it backfired. I think they overcoached him. They drilled it in his head too much. Didn't take any risk. And he was too cautious. Absolutely too cautious. Now, he only threw 2 interceptions last year with 25 touchdowns. That's excellent. That's excellent. But to me, it looked like he was just too risk adverse and wouldn't throw the ball downfield and take chances. And defenses like Michigan and Ohio State, they knew this. So things got way too conservative for Penn State, in my opinion. And maybe he didn't have any faith in his receivers down there to get, or their ability to go get a ball on a 50-50 ball. Maybe. Anyway, maybe things will change a little bit in that regard, and we can loosen him up a little bit. If the receivers step up, maybe we can get enough improvement in that part of Penn State's offense moving forward. Maybe they can get beyond 10 wins, 11, 12, beyond. You be the judge. I would love to hear from you. You Penn State fans are very vocal out there on our comments on YouTube and on Twitter at Talk Big Ten. Tomorrow, we are going to take a look at the Michigan defense. Some whispers out of Ann Arbor say that, remember that stellar defense last year and everybody's leaving to go to the NFL and all that stuff. Word on the street in Ann Arbor is this 2024 defense is going to be better than 2023. Think about it. Hey, sometimes you get some witty or interesting comments from coaches that when you talk to these coaches during spring football that you maybe normally don't get. Case in point, Minnesota coach PJ Fleck, he touched on something that we talk about a lot here on Locked On Big Ten. As recently as last week, we touched on how much we love the Big Ten promo commercial on the Big Ten Network. And, the one where they do the flyover animation of all the cities and the stadiums and all that kind of stuff from coast to coast. And we were talking about it, how, it's time to change. And by the way, that is set perfect. That music, I'm going to have to download that. Silver Lining by Guards, in case you're interested. But the new one's got to come out pretty soon, right? We got to include the Pacific Northwest and Southern California, including Washington and Oregon and UCLA and Southern California. PJ Fleck mentioned that spot as well. And he said he can't wait to see what the new commercial looks like. And he says it's his favorite commercial on the Big Ten Network. Ours too. We love it. Now, keep in mind that commercial does start over the Rose Bowl on the West Coast before it goes across the East. So technically UCLA is already covered. So we really only need to add three teams because, with the Rose Bowl's historical significance to the Big Ten, that's why it's already in there. But we got to add the 3 cities for the other 3 schools other than UCLA. So we'll see how that looks when it finally comes out. No word yet on when it's going to debut. I want to ask you, are you at home during the day? I don't know when you watch this podcast or listen to it. Maybe you're in your car. I don't know. But if you're ever at home, you ever watch Fox Sports or ESPN in the daytime on TV? It's kind of unwatchable, right? You got to turn down the volume. So much shouting and arguing and talking over each other. Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It is a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the big stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube, or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You know what we do on Tuesdays? Tuesday Tweets. You can follow us on Twitter at Talk Big Ten, number 10. I follow you, you follow me. Something out there grabs my attention. I pull it, put it on Tuesday's podcast. So we're going to do that next. Coming up in 1 minute, we'll see if you made the cut. Always look forward to this right here on Locked On Big Ten. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out and a team that's pushed it further than the rest. And just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. And we want to focus on the Illinois Fighting Illini. They can be described as a pathfinder, right? Found their path to the Sweet 16. Been thrilling to watch, and they've created a lane for themselves after knocking off Morehead State and Duquesne in the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. And that's after they won the Big Ten tournament. So now they find themselves dancing to the Sweet 16. So take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. All you have to do is shop NissanUSA.com. That's NissanUSA.com. All right, it's time for Tuesday tweets. Let's put them on screen. If you're on audio only, I will describe them as best as I can. And we got quite a few of them, so let's check them out. Put them on the big board here. This one is from @Ben Scott Stevens, and is a picture of Boo Buie from Northwestern. Daniel Boo Buie, the greatest Northwestern basketball player ever. There's really no question about it. 2,187 career points, 618 assists, the only unanimous first-team All-Big Ten selection, played in 149 games. Nobody at Northwestern's ever played that many, and led the Cats to the first back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances ever. A legend forever in Evanston, and I would agree, and I enjoyed watching him play. He was a lot of fun. Here's one from @Coach Matt Rule. He tweeted this out. I retweeted it. It's hilarious. It's Nebraska football. So tradition, big old tug of war. This is a video. And it's freshmen versus the seniors. And the freshmen don't know it, but as soon as he says go, the seniors let go of the rope and the freshmen fall on their rear end. It's hilarious. Check it out. Let's see. We have here one from @Boilerball, Purdue basketball. 31 wins, most wins in school history. Congratulations to them. Also, you may have heard that Zach Edey, he's gone 3 tournament games dating back to last year in a row with at least 20 points and 3 blocks. Nobody has done that since the early 90s when Shaquille O'Neal did it. So Shaq says, I'm changing your name, Zach Edey, to Zaquille O'Neal. How about that? Yeah, lots going on. With I'm going to be real curious to see where Zach Edey goes in the NBA draft. Some people say he won't get drafted. He's dominating inside, but there's no inside game in the NBA anymore. Here's from @Raphael Davis 3. Purdue scored 57 points in the second half against Utah State this weekend. Zach Edey scored 2 of them. That's right. The game was a wrap. And so Matt Painter sat him down. They didn't really need to risk injury. So they sat him down. They still scored 57 points. Still 55 of the 57 without him. Remarkable. Here's an interesting take from @Wolverine Chronicle. It is a picture of Terrence Shannon Jr. in an Illinois uniform. Great player. Be going to the Sweet 16, as will Caleb Love with Arizona. Caleb Love has bounced around from North Carolina, then to Michigan, and then to Arizona. And Terrence Shannon was at Michigan for a brief while. Here's the tweet. Caleb Love and Terrence Shannon both led their team in scoring yesterday on their way to a Sweet 16 berth. Both of these guys were firmly committed to Juwan Howard last season at Michigan, but Michigan admissions blocked them. I'm not saying Juwan doesn't deserve to be let go, but we could be ... It's a good point. I don't know what's going on now. Admissions doesn't seem to be a problem with football. They're winning national championships. So I don't know what the situation is was with Terrence Shannon and Caleb Love academically, but they could not get in. 2 great scores. 2 players that are going to the Sweet 16. Michigan had its worst season ever without these guys. 24 losses. Juwan Howard gets fired. Maybe that's worthy of a discussion. Might even do a podcast on that here in the future. Here's one from Indiana women's basketball. Hoosiers feeling sweet. The Lady Hoosiers pictures of them going to the Sweet 16. Here's one from at Michigan State Hockey. One for the ages, hashtag Go Green. This is just after they beat Michigan for the Big Ten title. The celebration video is about 4.5 minutes long. Here's another one, about 30 seconds long, from at Michigan State _hockey. Go green, go white. What a night. More of the celebration video. And here is a picture from at Spartans Rivals. Hockey is back at Michigan State, and they're holding up the trophy. Congratulations to the Spartans for winning the championship, Big Ten championship. And we're never too far away from football season. Here's one from at College Football Alerts. They tweeted a bunch of logos of the top 10 best stadium environments from 2023. This is their list, not ours. But they got Michigan to the big house at number 1, followed by Alabama and Texas. Washington, the Huskies, new Big Ten team at number 4. They got Penn State, Beaver Stadium at number 7. And there's Ohio State at number 10. I can almost hear right now all of our listeners and fans who are fans of Penn State and Ohio State complaining. Beaver Stadium, a whiteout, you're only going to put them at 7? Ohio Stadium every weekend? Are they that much different from what's going on in Ann Arbor? Anyway, that's for you to decide. I'm just putting it up there. I'm not trying to start anything. Just put it up there. Enjoy it. Check it out. That's a look at our Tuesday tweets. Thank you for everybody that had those. All right. That'll just about do it here. Again, tomorrow we're going to look at Michigan football. Rumor is their defense is better this upcoming year, 2024, than 2023. I don't know. I'm going to dive into do a little homework, see what I think first, but we're going to discuss it. We peeked in on Penn State football today and spring football. We'll take a look at Michigan tomorrow and see what we think about that. They are going to be good. Wink Martindale's coming in there. They do have some talent, and they didn't lose everybody to the NFL. So we'll get into that a little bit. Love to hear from you. You know the drill on Twitter or X at TalkBig10 Hit us up on YouTube as well. Love the back and forth. And also don't forget our website, TalkBig10 10.com. You can reach me there, and we archive all of our podcasts there in order and by team. Very easy for you to find. TalkBig10 10.com. Be sure to subscribe before you go and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. And you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Invite you to hang on and watch another episode of Locked On Big Ten. When you're done with that, check out our national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube called Locked On Sports Today from the Locked On family of podcasters. It's all right there. Have yourself a great day, and I can't wait till we meet tomorrow. Thank you for checking us out here today on the latest edition of Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman.